All right, guys, so welcome to this week's video. I get questions all the time about sales and how do I grow my business? How should I price? And so rather than us answering that internally here at Silvertrac, I figured I'd bring on Erica Grabowski. She's the Director of Business Development for Reliance Security out of Las Vegas, and she has a world of experience in business development. She's extremely successful. We've been working with her for several years. So welcome, Erica, to the video.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Johnny.
Yeah, so why don't you just give us a good quick intro, your background in the industry, who you are, what you do, and we'll get you introduced to the Silvertrac audience.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I integrated into the private security sector approximately 4 years ago when I started with Reliance Security. I chose Reliance Security because of the schooling that I had done. My background is organizational security and management, so I focused on campus security, guard management, physical elements of security, and that's where I really became a believer in the accountability and the form of using the QR codes and kind of streamlining the work so that we have metrics for the clients. And that was very, I did a lot of that in a lot of my research papers. So when I was a member of ASIS, which I still am today, they worked with me through the graduation process and scholarship. And there was an individual and a mutual associate with Reliance who had come to me through ASIS and offered me a position. So they kind of watched some of the things that I had done and that worked out. So when I started with Reliance, one of the reasons that I chose them is because I researched the Silvertrac. They said, hey, we have this Reliance track program and we're not using it. So this seems to be like kind of what you're looking for. And it took a lot of study. I did a lot of the research online. Yourself, Chris, all helped me to work with it. So it took a couple of months. It's a lot of using and adding to the company, and it changed it. But that was how it all started. And we went from maybe using it 10% to now I think we use it at approximately 92, 93%.
Yeah, you guys are what we would call power users for sure. So you've certainly taken it and even used it in some like auxiliary ways that I think you guys get additional value out of. So there's definitely times where I've learned from you hopping on a call. So pretty cool. One of the things that I'd love to have you share is around, we get a lot of questions around prospecting and running the sales organization. So can you speak a little bit to your background? How did you get into business development? And that's like, because you have the background in security, but your main role there is working with your clients, both current and prospective clients, right?
It's actually the opposite. My primary objective in my college education and my career objective was to go 1,000% with the security director role, or to organize that. I did homeland security and counterterrorism. But what happens, it's just in my nature. Prior to that, I knew that if you had an idea, a project, or you wanted to persuade someone to do something, you had to know how to sell it. So it just kind of became my art of selling, and I have the gift of gab.
Nice.
Yeah, and when you believe in something, I think that is the biggest difference. They say you can sell an ice cube to an Eskimo. It's kind of what it is. And so the Reliance track is what I believed in. Because in the guard force with contract security, it's any company, it's placing any guard, but setting aside who provides the metrics, which is very important today, who provides the real-time integrated technology, that's important today. That's what sets it apart. So I believe wholeheartedly in the guard management, or most call it virtual guard management. Mm-hmm. That is my biggest pitch. So when you understand the full capacity of Silvertrac and what it can do for your company and your client, it's easy to sell. It's really not even a hard sell. And overall, I speak to people and I just say it's for those who look for a stronger return on their investment, and for those who wish to streamline the communication all the way from the guard all the way to the stakeholders and owners. So,
yeah. Do you happen to have, I hate to kind of catch you off guard here, but do you have like a specific story about maybe walking through like just initial introduction with a client, how those early stage conversations were, and how you positioned Reliance, yourself, and the service as a whole to win the contract?
Absolutely. Most often the clients will come out and put out, an RFP or a request for proposal. They're not happy with their existing guard services, and some are actually brand new. They've never had security, recent trends in the area, and so they call out for a new one. And you have to win a bid because they're usually going out for at least a minimum of 3. And
Mm-hmm.
so how to win the bid over and their cost benefit is you explain to them that in the guard industry, it is what it is. The software is only as good as the user who's, entering everything. But I put my clients or my prospects, I sit right in their chair and I load up the Silvertrac and I show them examples of what we have and I give them a test drive. That's all it is. It's like, just give them a sample of it. Once they see all the different filters and the compartments and the user profiles, they just, wow, this is what I want. This is what I want to know, where my security company is, who my guards are, and what they've done. So the checkpoints and the tasks, it's wonderful. And once they sample it, it's really just a battle of their budget. And you can only go so low because it's a lot of overhead.
Yeah.
But they have it where we can fit just a decent schedule. A lot of them will actually take down the amount of security hours and coverage they had just to add that Reliance or Silvertrac.
Yeah. So tell me, like, how do you guys win a bid when you're not the lowest? Like, especially for, I think it's a challenge when you're working with with someone who's never bought security before. It's easier, I think, if they've been burned by other companies because they have like, hey, you hired the guy for $16 an hour 6 months ago, and that's why you're calling me now. So you obviously know that you pay or you get what you pay for. But I think that it's hard for someone who hasn't had an experience like buying security before or procuring a security service. I think it's hard for them to sometimes understand the difference between $21 an hour, $17 an hour, like especially when the gaps are a little bit larger. I mean, there's some companies out there you can speak to that they don't use workman's comp, they pay their guards under the table, and so they're really lowballing these bids. Or you have the national companies that can afford to do the job for no profit at all. So can you kind of speak to like how, when a customer sits across the desk from you and says, hey, I love what you're showing me, but like, I can't, help me understand the difference between you guys and maybe a company that's like, $2 or $3 lower.
It's transparency and it's accountability overall, 1000%. And so that is the difference when you speak to them or you're trying to give a persuasive pitch and close that deal. Explaining to our clients the benefit that they could have men and women in their guard force who are negligent and aren't doing their job. And Silvertrac doesn't show all of that, but it starts with the fundamentals, who the officer is, what time they arrived, where did they immediately go and do their patrols and checkpoints. The clients love the photos because it's like enhanced CCTV all over the property.
Mm-hmm.
Providing they get a clear photo. It's GPS time stamped. I like to call it reporting forensics. They get a kick out of that because if there is an incident, you can go back through time and determine where their last checkpoints were. Overall, again, it is the 1000% transparency in the security company who is providing Silvertrac. We use it for Reliance Track. Is honest and cares. And so So the company now is investing in virtually managing their own men and women in the field,
Mm-hmm.
supervisors, and that's giving that extra set of dedication to that contract and the security plan to be able to communicate in real time. And that makes the difference when the budget isn't as high and they're making that decision. And there are stakeholders who have invested a lot and they don't want to go in with any errors. So they'll go right for that, knowing that they have all those metrics and they can view it themselves. It's really just a decision on the individual and what their goals are.
So can you talk to me a little bit about how you are early on, because I think that you've had different stages in your time with Reliance, but can you talk a little bit about prospecting? Like, let's say that you guys have goals of growing the company. Where do you look for new business? Like, how do you guys grow without just, because I think the status quo right now is like, wait for the phone to ring or hope that word of mouth does it. But I think you've been more intentional about that and had like a method to your growth. We've certainly seen your guys' business transform over the last several years. So what contributes to that? What's your strategy for prospecting or adding more to the pipeline so you can grow?
It was spreading the word at first. Again, just through certain colleagues in the security industry and networking prior to. You just reach out to certain individual and then your target project. We chose apartment communities, the multi-dwells. And so we went there first because we wanted to increase our volume and we wanted to get the referral process. We wanted to gain in the credibility. So the first goal was to start off knowing that it was going to. Another thing that's very important to consider for anyone new to Silvertrac is that once you do adapt it, it completely evolves your company's business practices and your operations overall, because it is transparent. It's adapting to having the telephones on site, overcoming how to store them and not have them get stolen. It happens. You have to lock them down. There's a lot of shrinkage. There is a lot of shrinkage involved. And so it's really staying the course, and it is not going to be a quick peak of growth. And because it is 1,000% transparent, other than putting an ankle bracelet on someone and making them patrol, I mean, it's kind of what you say. There can be some loss for those who don't use it. And there are many features within Silvertrac that if they are not used, if you find that you have a neighboring competitor who is using it better, then you will lose it to them. So there's a lot of elements in Silvertrac that if you're going to use it, know them all and use them all.
So talk about that a little bit. I think this applies certainly to you guys' use of the software, but I think you guys have a culture as a company in the way you deliver your service that's really focused on what the customer needs. Like, you're not just proving that there's someone there on site, but you're proving that there's value in the service. So can you talk about, like, you bring someone on, a new customer, what's your process for going through and identifying like what they're going to see as successful, and sort of working against that view of security as a cost center? Can you talk to like how you guys diagnose the need of a customer, how you use not only your background but the software as well to like leverage and really prove value there?
Yeah, it starts when you're building the security plan. So even at an apartment building, if it's a hospital facility, a government, construction sites, it's all valuable because you're talking about the basic elements of the security plan and the checkpoints for which the guard pool is going to be there to mitigate. So, it's observe, mitigate, report. Those are all the fundamentals of security. And so what you start with is you talk about what is to be watched, what's the assets at risk? What is the client looking to protect? What's their cost benefit? Why are they putting in that security budget to guard these certain areas, amenities, assets, or people? So when you have a full understanding of that security plan, depending on the volume of the whole, the perimeter, the building, all of that, that's where you can integrate then the value of having all of those proven inspections and monitoring and checkpoints in the Reliance track so that they can see that in real time. A project manager at a construction site loves it because he can have it on his laptop in the trailer and see everywhere that the guard's going. He can report fence breaches and equipment failure, and even heavy loaded trucks that have a flat tire that will delay the next phase of construction. So you talk to your client or your prospect about all of their needs and wants. And there are some that, hey, I just need a body and he's just going to sit here. And okay, well, I can prove that he hasn't left with Reliance Track. We don't have to have all the bells and whistles, but we can put the certain elements. So it just depends. And then you build all of their needs and wants. But when talking what they want, that's when you say, okay, well, you need this done every day at 5 o'clock. Well, we're going to send a task alert, which is what we use in the tasks, to the guard so he doesn't forget. And then that Reliance Security gave that directive at 5 o'clock every single day. And then that guard responded to it, took a photo, and reported any issues that occurred. So the communication and the validity and accountability is in real time. And that's what they love.
That's awesome. So tell me, let's run through here. I know you guys are in a super saturated market there. I mean, I don't think there's many in the security industry that wouldn't say, man, it's super competitive. I think the barrier to entry into the industry has gotten lower and lower. So you have guards leaving all the time to start their own company, or supervisors leaving all the time. So is it your network that's the strongest asset that's keeping you guys standing out, or what would you attribute? How do we stand out in such a saturated market and continue that growth when there are so many competitors?
Strong business relationships. It's a combination of everything. You can't just have Silvertrac added to your company and maybe put the features on the website and expect to get it. You have to get out there and give them a taste of it. So that would be a good combination of prospecting, which a lot of clients don't like you to just walk in. You know, they won't make time. So we usually set up appointments with that. But the referral process, once you get one, you work from there and you say, you know, hey, can I get this out to any of our colleagues? We try not to prospect and cold call to bother. We try not to be intrusive, but we believe in our product. We believe in you know, the additional features that we add with our guard services is beneficial to our industry clients, and they will do it. They'll, once they get a test run of the report, they'll say, oh my God, you know, this one could use this one could use this. This is exactly what we've been looking for.
Yeah.
We've had the same though, where we put it on, and if our team hasn't been using it, or the guards that we put on are not educated on it, then they'll term you just the same. So you have
Sure.
already, and you have to have a countermeasure for each little hiccup to be able to keep that contract going.
Yeah. I think one thing that we push a lot of the times that Silvertrac is not going to be, you can't go in the door and say, hey, we're going to make sure that nothing bad ever happens. Silvertrac's just a tool that tells the management company, tells you guys, hey, there's something wrong here. The good companies address the issue, make the customer aware of it, and fix the problem. The bad companies either don't know about it, they wait for the customer to call them with a problem or a complaint, so then we're already behind the 8 ball, or they use the tool to sweep it under the rug and try to hide it from the client. And neither of those things are really contributing to like the long-term success for the client. So briefly, can you speak to like the impact of retention that this has had for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, slow and steady wins the race. And so it has enabled us to keep contracts more, you know, long-term when we used it to its full capacity. I no longer, I can't stand a paper DAR, a daily activity report on paper where they have to read the guards' hieroglyphics or even know that they left it. Just, I'm terrified. When we have a contract that doesn't have Silvertrac, I can't manage it. So I think it's essential for our operations. I want to stay on task again. Because there's so much that I believe in with the system, but how it helped us to grow again is really, I think at times we need it more than the client does. That's the virtual guard management that we added a dispatch, you know, no longer just taking the phone calls, but our dispatchers use it now. And they enter all of the phone lines, you know, and the request to dispatch an officer and our post checks. I've integrated Silvertrac into just about everything I possibly could and wish I could have more.
Yeah.
That's why we talk. I find different ways to say, okay, we could track this. We have cloud history of this. It's archived all online. So there are times that a client maybe doesn't want it for the budget, and we just put it on just so that we can manage it. And I think really, again, it's more important for the guard company than it is the client. The client will use it at their will. We have some that I say use it just as much as we do, and that's your regional managers. Those who are managing a portfolio of 5, 10 or more that are using it, they find the value.
Yeah.
For those that are on one, they'll get it. They'll get their emailed reports, but the value just has leaps and bounds depending on how you use it.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's see. I'd love to have you share. Let's think about if you were talking to a security company just getting started, or where it's just kind of the CEO or the founder doing the sales. how can you speak to specifically the sales process? Just give some action items, because I'd love for someone watching this call to be able to take it. I think a lot of companies would love to be where you guys are, and you feel this like gap between where I'm at today and where they aim to be. So I'd love to try to help them connect the dots here with just like a simple action plan for if you don't have a formal sales process or in a way that you're intentionally growing the company. What would your advice be to someone of some action steps that they can take to begin formalizing the sales process and being intentional about growth rather than just waiting for the phone to ring?
Oh, absolutely. I can put myself in my position on day one.
Yeah.
Number one, first, know every aspect of Silvertrac before you start off, because you don't want to go and only sell some of the features. You want to be fully experienced, and you want to know, like, you're a subject matter expert yourself. So number one, before you go out and prospect and do that, make sure that if you're up against a competitor, that you're providing everything in your pitch. That is number one. And already have a portfolio that's built. Even if you don't have it on anything else, make it for your own company. Use the checkpoints, use the task alerts, have photos in there. Provide real-time and tangible metrics that you can look at it, feel it. It's just like buying a new car. You get in and give them a test run. And that's probably the best thing you can do. And from there, believe in it. Number one, believe in it, because when you're talking to them and you're actually giving them all the reasons that you use it and you believe in it, I think that just the truth and the heart of it all is really what sells it. I really do. It's the software.
Yeah. How do you find the accounts early on? How did you find like the prospects? Like, how did you actually get to the point where you could sit in front of someone and show them what you guys are working on?
For me, it was different. I was fresh out of school. Everyone knew what I was doing in security, like how I wanted to change my industry. And I had certain associates and just business partners from other industries. It's kind of like your center of 6 degrees, where you know different people.
Yeah.
Be a member of BNI for the Business Networking International. And so just knowing how to network, I just reached out to everybody and I said, look, I finished school. This is everything I do. And I found a company that has all my beliefs, and this is what would set us apart from the rest. So you use your automatic networking. You're going to get 1 or 2. And then from there, the referral. You're going to have to go to your trade shows. You're going to have to do all of your standard, marketing and networking. Have some business flyers. Silvertrac provides the little cute cartoon video that you guys do. Loved it. I did that. I do lunch and learns. You guys have that on your Silvertrac, but that's kind of standard for the industry. You go to a large group and you try to prospect that and let them tour the software right on a huge overhead in their lunchroom. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So a little bit of everything.
Yeah. So you mentioned BNI, and this is something I want to ask you about specifically. So actually, when I was a business development manager, I was a part of BNI as well. And I think it's something that a lot of people miss out on. It's like we're not drawing this direct connection that if you're going to grow word of mouth, it actually comes through networking. And there's a lot of formal organizations you can be a part of, whether it's joining your chamber of commerce, like an ambassador, maybe you are doing BNI, or there's all kinds of networking groups. So can you talk about maybe some industries that aren't direct connections? Like I think everyone says, oh, well, I could obviously network with property managers, but I'm sure you've made some indirect connections with companies that are also serving property managers and been successful networking with those.
That's how it happened. Prior to, I worked for a state farm agency, and so I sold insurance. And we would do neighborhood watch programs. And from there, we were working with apartment managers, the community managers, and doing those meetings. So that's really how it started. We had mutual individuals, and we knew the, regional managers. And my best client today is still my number one. And that individual, I can't name names or anything, but they helped us to grow.
That's cool.
Knowing who I was, your business development manager or any of your CEO, you have to have that credibility behind you.
Yeah.
And I don't want to toot my own horn, but I came with that with already a networking source. Yes, degree in my college, but they really knew who I was before. So when you're going to send out an individual who's going to sell, make sure that they have a good center of influence of their own and where they have a strong, credible background.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah,
have to
totally.
say that did help.
Yeah, I think something that I pinpointed on, maybe something that if you're watching the video that you can capitalize on here, is when you're networking, there are a lot of other vendors that service property managers, right? I mean, there's like landscapers that will go to commercial property management and
Oh,
homeowners associations. So buddy up with them, buddy up with like painters, buddy up with janitorial and building services. I mean, there's a lot of them that have the same customer. So if you have their back, I think that's what BNI is like really solid as, like really strengthening those relationships. It's not like you're not going to get a win in 6 weeks. It's like be a member of BNI for the next 5 years, and you'll notice a massive portion of your business is coming from those referrals and the relationships that you're building, right?
and it's not just that, it's who they know, who their spouses work with.
Yeah.
It is. So it's constantly networking and sharing and educating. You have to educate. And so the video blogs are phenomenal. Sharing with them how it has helped somebody else, how the real-time metrics and the printable PDF reports can be used in the court of law when they're going up against litigation with something. It's very important. I wanted my pool guy to add it on.
Yeah, totally. It's funny. We actually had like several pool cleaners down in San Diego using this for a while because they had the same thing.
The best. Communicate the leaky part. It's all there.
Yeah.
No, you could use it. We talked about having, the fleet aspect, track knowledge. So it depends. And I love how Silvertrac has the variables, I guess. How would you say this? Like with your filters, you can name them.
Yeah.
Just for everyone gets stuck on the apartment community, because I think that's the most volume. But here in Las Vegas, it doesn't necessarily California or anywhere else. But here in Las Vegas, the biggest value in those who have a large area with anywhere from 20 to 70 buildings, multiple amenities and pools, yes, that value is there because they have to track them.
Yeah.
But in a facility or in a hotel environment, it's crucial to see the stairwell checks and everything that the CCTV cameras can't see them in.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important. But
yeah. Cool, Erica. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here and share. I hope that everyone got a lot out of the conversation here. Erica, I want to give you a chance. I know that you're really passionate about a lot of different things within security, but I know that you're specifically involved with women in security. So you want to take a second to kind of share about your involvement in that and what you have going on with ASIS and all that?
That as my newest, I was very, very grateful of ASIS because through associates, they mentored me. There was individuals there. The networking through ASIS is amazing. And any college-driven individual who wants to just enhance their skill sets. My university, I went to University of Phoenix, and the whole structure and the college curriculum had a lot of background from ASIS. And so going back into there, I wanted to say thank you. When I graduated, when I was as a student, then you start working. Well, when your business grows, when you're in business development, and that's kind of how I got put in here, you're so busy. You're so busy. You can't join a lot of those networks. And now you're doing it to where you are just joining the apartment, associations and just whatever networking and trade shows for the work. Well, this year, I want to obtain my CPP through ASIS, and I wanted to just give back. So I joined back up again in January, but I've always stayed in touch and went to random meetings here and there. And they said, hey, would you like to be on the chair? So I am now the Las Vegas chapter's Women in Security liaison.
That's awesome. So you'll be at the trade show in September?
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. Awesome. Cool. We'll look forward to seeing you there. Thank you so much for coming on. Again, we appreciate your support and your willingness to share. I hope that if you were on the call, you got a lot or I hope that if you're watching the video, you got a lot out of it. Erica, any last words before we part ways for now?
Nope. Thank you for always taking my calls and always considering all the little added features that I want, because it's helped. And
yeah.
You guys are great. This is why we keep growing. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you, Erica. Have a good one.
You too, Johnny. Take care.